Satsang. Last Satsang brought a flood of mail, more than I've ever had before. And also, within 4 days, already 1,000 people had seen it. The Satsang itself. So, anyway, but from the mail that I got, it was very touching, and it's made me very kind of, emotional about it. But one of the best emails that I received was this particular very, very short email. And I'd like to read it because it is not so much praising the talk itself, but how he experienced it. Okay, well, I'll read it. Okay, this is yours, Frank. Okay, your latest satsang is the ultimate knowing, cut through all the questions and was felt in my heart. It bypassed the mind, and I can't even remember what you said, but I could feel it. Many search through the Bible and through religion for the Word of God, and here I am listening directly to the Word of God, unspoiled by interpretation and straight from what is. How lucky I am to be in its field of energy as it calls me to come home. So, yeah. So you can tell that he felt it, and that is the whole point. Now, some of the questions that I had is to make it clearer how we learn beyond the mind, okay? So what I'd like to do clear through your participation is what it means beyond the mind and how to go about it. Okay, so when we talk about the conditioned mind, now, and that's what we're talking about beyond the mind, because the mind is an incredible, the overall mind, but we're talking about the individualized conditioned mind. So when we talk about conditioned mind, what are we saying here? What is it that we are experiencing? What is the conditioned mind?
School.
Hmm?
Schooling.
Okay, schooling, yes.
In my story.
My story, excellent.
Parenting.
Okay, parenting is part of it, yeah.
Cultural mores.
Cultural mores.
My life.
Okay, my life. Okay.
Church.
Now, if I were to make it all very brief, and very few people actually stop to really look at it this way, the whole conditioned mind is beliefs. Because as we explore, you begin to see that what you believe cannot be real. For the simple reason that reality itself is something you know. For example, I don't believe I exist, I know I exist. See the difference? Okay. So belief is something that's been instilled in your consciousness. You made it real and you never questioned it. And when you begin to live from these beliefs, they take over completely. And so because they take over completely, they influence your actions, your feelings, your thoughts, your everything about you becomes this belief. So this is very important to keep in mind, because when people write me these emails, the first thing that I see immediately, this is not something I make up my mind to do so, I see that they are talking from something that has now created a problem because of what they believe. You see, and everybody believes something different. Okay, so now how do we start going beyond our belief structure or belief programming? Okay, and you got something to say?
I was just going to say, realizing that the beliefs
keep going.
are just that.
Yeah, keep going. I just want to turn the water off here.
That they are just a mind-made structure to give us the illusion of knowing so that we feel more safe and secure in our underlying insecurity.
Yes, yes, and I heard everything you said, yes. Yes. See, this is it, you know. So we base everything on these beliefs, and until we see a belief as a belief, we cannot be free. Buddha, in fact, said, challenge all your beliefs, all of them. When all beliefs are gone, what is left? He said, nirvana. Okay? So nirvana is the ultimate being, is who you are. Yeah.
In some ways, beliefs can never be the truth because they are dualistic in nature, and there is the object, the belief, and the believer.
Yes.
And so there is no open freedom for life as it is to show up.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Excellent.
that
Excellent.
But everything that you listen to, you chose to believe it or not.
Oh yes.
And
Oh yes. As a matter of fact, not only you chose to believe it, but to you it is reality. It is what life actually is. You believe it completely.
well,
That's
it
why.
built you,
and-
like
and-
it built
yeah.
your
Yes.
whole
Yeah.
being from the beginning, I guess.
Right. So it's made up of everything you've said, really. The story, you know, the culture, you know, parenting and everything else. But now what I'd like to do is cover the first point, the important point of how to go beyond the conditioned mind. How do we go beyond it? Okay. So there is one question I want to ask you, and I'd really be very happy to hear your feedback on this. What is, and we have to make it personal at this point because this is how we actually can grow beyond our own conditioned mind. What is your most powerful, intimate experience? Your optimum intimate experience. What would it be? See, and now we're going to hit upon that thing that makes us act, feel, believe.
For me, it's this isn't quite it, but it's almost like it's almost like a spiritual orgasm. It's when.
Okay, so to you it's very positive. Okay,
Yes.
because what we have to cover here is that your optimum, your most intimate experience is both positive and negative. Okay? It is both. So, so in your particular case, it's a spiritual orgasm. Okay, which is truly, because that is very, very intimate. Okay? The sexual act is very intimate. But then again, if you lost your lover, isn't that intimate? Also, you see what I mean?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
we're talking about not positive or negative, we're talking about the most intimate experience you can have. Okay, what would you say is your most intimate experience?
Well, what came to mind for me right away was a couple of years ago, but it was a life experience that involved rejection, and through that rejection,
Okay.
I came in touch with the divine. I saw what rejection was, and the need for love, and then I saw what was behind that.
Okay, good. So therefore rejection was very intimate to you.
Oh, very! Oh my
Very
God! Well,
intimate,
it was
good.
it
And
was-
it is for most people.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, most people have, when it's come to negative, they all have that same, more or less. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now, in order for us to experience experience that intimacy completely through witnessing, that helps us to go beyond it into the true nature. Let me give you some experiences because this is how we best can work it. And I don't think Eckhart Tolle would mind me relating his story because he covered it many times. But he was a very unhappy, well-educated man, and he was absolutely reaching the end of his rope, and he didn't want to live anymore. I can't live with myself anymore. Maybe he was thinking of suicide, whatever. But he came to that point where he said, I can't live with myself anymore. Now listen to the whole thing. So this reached his most intimate experience, right? Why is it intimate? Because it has to do with who he is, or thinks he is. It doesn't matter. It is still the most intimate experience. So then he said, but are there two of me? I can't live with myself anymore. And that moment made him stop. So there was a witnessing. It made him stop to look at it. Well, the next day the birds were singing, the day was bright, sunny, happy, and he wasn't working for quite a few years. He just sat on a bench in ecstasy. Total revolution. Okay, now I'd like to quote you another experience, which is intimate, very intimate. When Ramana Maharshi, later was called Maharshi, but when he was a teenager, he developed a great fear of death. It was absolutely terrifying. It was such terror that he was shaking and sweating, and he never knew such fear. And at that point, there was something in him says, well, I'm going to lie down, and I can't help this. I cannot stop it. That is the most intimate experience at that moment. He lied down and said, now, if I die, what happens? What is going to happen? You see, and he stayed with the experience. By staying with that experience, see, he witnessed it. In other words, he went right through it completely. And at that point, he woke up. And he was never the same, never. He never lost that experience, the experience of his true self, his true identity, which he calls it the self, capital S. Okay? So this can happen in many, many cases. And I had an experience too, an intimate experience, where I used to think that I know something. Because I liked psychology, I liked philosophy, I had so many books. And I wrote a book called Be Aware, Be Free when I was in Toronto, and brief TV series. And then I used to think that I know something. But when I met the woman from Oregon, and she came to live with me, and she left everything behind to be with me, she, after a while, because she gave everything, she didn't realize what she did, and she left her 14-year-old son also, which she sent to his father, and she began to feel extremely insecure. She became irrational, and I never experienced that before in a relationship, something so, it was completely, I couldn't make, I had no answer for it. And it came to the point where I said, I don't know anything. I studied so much about this and that, human personality experiencing, but I don't know how to deal with this. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. And I went into the bathroom and I actually cried. And at that moment, the one thing that stood with me, the most important, the most intimate experience was that I, as Burt, know nothing. And that was so hurtful, because all my life I thought I knew something. And I loved learning so much. But at that moment I knew I didn't know anything. And the moment I realized I didn't know anything, there was the feeling that there was no Burt there. There was just being playing the role of Burt. And after it was over, I didn't know any answers. But I also knew there were no answers. You see, and that became the knowledge. So when we experience what is beyond belief, we don't go into somewhere where we have the answers and everything makes sense and become rational. No, you go beyond mind. So in other words, you go into that place where there is only is. And that becomes your answer, but it is not something specific. Because at that moment it acts through you, because it's so intimate. Okay? So now the most important part that comes from this is, how do we witness our most intimate experience? People are writing me every day having these intimate experiences. Some people write me and they say some beautiful things. I had this beautiful feeling where I knew who I was for a few moments. I experienced oneness, etc., etc. But most of the people write, you know, the marriage broke up, I felt jilted, I felt, you know, I was raped. Many things happened like this, you see. Like one man, for example, wrote me, and I have it here, and he said, why is it the sexual rape or the sexual abuse is the one most powerful, the hardest to forgive, to forget, you see. And then I wrote him back and I said, because it is your most intimate experience, you see. So when something happens where it shakes you up to the point where you don't know who you are anymore, that is a blessing in itself. And the reason, what I learned about love too, which is so beautiful, and I know you mentioned it many times too, is that love teaches us through our greatest pain. And so when we are at a point where we don't know where to turn, we don't know where to go, if at that moment we were to surrender, in other words, to be with the intimate experience itself without running away from it, trying to change it, trying to find answers, nothing, to stay with it, that very witnessing of what is happening itself will turn it around. And it will turn it around in such a way that you'll have the answer because you receive no answer. Are you with me so far? Because as long as you get an answer, you have words. And those words can never satisfy your soul, can never satisfy your heart. But the answer can come in the form of a feeling of peace, a feeling of nothing actually happened, a feeling of, yeah, this is what is. You see what I mean? It can come in many, many forms. So now someone asked me, he said, Burt, what is witnessing? And I said, I wish I could explain what witnessing is. I would love to write a book about it, actually. You know, if I could put it in words. But witnessing is two people look at the ocean, okay? And we've said it before, but this is a good example. You know, they both see the surface waves. And one says, oh, that's the ocean. But the one who's witnessing knows in his heart that he's looking at something with so much depth that it's another world in itself. He doesn't have X-ray vision, but the witnessing part means that he's seeing what is as it actually is. You see, and this is the key, to see something as it actually is. And when you go into it, and he also asked me in the email, he says, well, because Burt, you say all the time to see, well, what is, you know, and what is plain. Well, there's the chair, there's the table, there's the tree, there's the grass, you know. But the point is, did you ever look at what is? You know, like you go out, for example, and all of a sudden it realizes, you say, oh, there was so much grass, you know, a few weeks ago, and now look at how much it's grown. You know, and all of a sudden you witness it for the first time. What is grass? Why is it green? Well, you can say it because of chlorophyll, but that's just more words. Okay? What makes it grow? You see, what makes it do what it does? You know? Yeah.
Just witnessing, that's aside from beliefs.
Witnessing is completely true, because you're seeing what is. And you're going deeper into what is. So you don't believe that the ocean is another world. You know it is. You know it is, because there's a depth in you, a sensitivity that it's almost like enters that dimension. Yeah.
It goes so far beyond the words of whatever it's called, tree, ocean. it's like a sense of the vastness of which you know you cannot comprehend, pushing up through this object that we want to make into a pinhead.
Right, right.
And it's that thrust of knowing of the wondrous majesty of the unexplainable that is where the witness comes into full.
Right, because you're just like what was it Einstein said? Right. He says when you ever see everything as a miracle. You see, and it's true, because when you see what is, you begin to see that you never saw before. For example, we are talking here. We've taken it for granted. We've been talking ever since we were 3 years old or so. We take it for granted. What do you see? The magic, the power, the wonder of that. How the words are formed because we know the English language, but the sound itself comes so clearly, how it is formed in the, everything is. So walking, for example, too, we're walking on Earth, and you know that the Earth is hurtling through space at 20 miles per second. You see, in its rotation, but we don't notice at all. Now you might say in your question, but how do you know that for a fact? Because you begin to feel this energy which you are in touch. You don't see it with your physical eyes, but you know it's there. Just like when you look at a human being. You see, like for example, one time there was a great teacher and he says, well, how do you teach people that they are just awareness and nothing more? And he called it standing awareness. So what he meant by that is, and he's a great teacher, I forgot his name, Greg Good. Yeah, that's his name. He said, look at yourself and what are you right now? And in the beginning you just identify with the body. So this means that everybody is a body to you. So you see only bodies, see separation. There comes a point when you become more sensitive, more intelligent, more in your heart, and you begin to see everything as mind. Now you begin to see everything as ideas, everything as beliefs, everything as structured by conditioned thought. You see? And you see the power of that, because beliefs might not be real in reality, but to the person that they are real, they affect you. They affect you immediately. If you believe you're going to die, you will die if you know for sure that you're going to die. But you see, that's how powerful a belief is. So, so therefore, you would think awareness is based on mind. But then you go deeper and he says, yeah, but what created these beliefs? What created the ability to think, to experience? You see, and you begin to go into the senses themselves, hearing, touching, feeling, seeing. And then you see that this is not in the body. It appears in the body, but it is consciousness itself. And then you go into consciousness until finally you see there's only awareness. And awareness is self-recognizing and self-organizing. See, it's complete. So there's nothing that is not awareness. Someone asked me, they said, well, okay, it's fine. Everything is awareness. How is that basket over there awareness itself? How is that? It is awareness itself. Now, the way we look at it is what determines our witnessing. Remember, that basket was once an idea in the mind of someone who imagined how wonderful it would be if I could create something round like this where I can put a lot of stuff in it. And I call it a basket. So it was created by imagination. But before imagination can be activated, there has to be the awareness of the imagined thing. So we will find that awareness is all we are or could ever be. Awareness has no beginning, no end, and it has all those three qualities. Out, the qualities of out. O is oneness. That's how you remember the three, out. O is oneness. U is unconditional love. and T, and T is freedom from
Freedom from time.
from time. T is time, right, the timeless.
Timeless.
Okay,
That's it.
so those are the three qualities of the eternal awareness. You see? Now, the moment you get a glimpse that you are awareness itself, now the moment we begin to think we are awareness itself, we begin to think, oh, I am awareness, therefore I am aware of what I am aware of. No, awareness itself is aware of itself. Got it? What you're aware of becomes a thought, becomes consciousness. But awareness itself is complete. It is self-recognizing and self-organizing. It is incredible. It is what digests the food, assimilates it, everything in your body. It is when you take a vitamin, it knows what to do and what it needs to do in your system, okay? This is all being done by self-organizing principle of awareness. Awareness is all that there is. You know, when you begin to realize this, it just boggles the mind. There is only awareness, and everything else is a result of that awareness. And we call it consciousness, you see? And then from that comes beliefs, ideas, etc., etc. But when you take it back to its nucleus, you'll find there's only awareness. Like one time I told you about this woman who came from out of town just to be with me. And she said, Bert, can you teach me about awareness? And I thought, oh my God, we were over at Jericho, and I think I told you about this, right? Yeah, you remember. But anyway, and this woman really threw me for a loop, because I never realized that I told her, I said, witness this tree right now, just look at it, and I want to go to the water, because I'm feeling very hot. Put my feet in the water, and I came back, and she was still looking at the tree. But she didn't want to move away. And I saw the glow in her face. I saw the radiance, and she was so high. I felt like I wanted to be her student at that moment, truly. And because at that moment she was glowing, and she felt so alive, and she kept thanking me, and then, well. But I didn't do anything. She wanted to know about witnessing, and I said, just watch this tree, but don't make up your mind, don't call it a tree, don't call it anything. Just actually see it as it is. And when you do, automatically you surrender to the moment, and you don't think about time, you don't think about how long am I going to do this, you don't think about, oh, what am I going to experience, what is going to happen. None of that, because that's all conditioned mind. She just sat there and looked. And the tree actually told her its history. It talked to her. Now there's another thing that you learn through awareness. Everything is consciousness. And everything can tell you its story, can tell you from itself. There are people who are extremely sensitive, and they can actually know what animals are talking, what they're saying. You see, they can actually understand the language and what is going on. And you can look at vegetables or fruits or whatever, and you begin to almost feel its essence. Okay? Now, so this is what it means to witness, to go right into the very core essence of the thing itself. You see? And the level of what you see is the level of what you see. But as you take it deeper and deeper, and then there comes a point when you realize there's only awareness, there's nothing else but awareness.
It's almost like you start with seeing, but then you actually dissolve into being that.
Yes.
And through the dissolving of being that, all knowledge of that is yours.
Yes. All knowledge of that is yours. So this is where beliefs stifle us from learning. Because all we are is belief. We believe something and we don't question it. You see? But unless you question something, you can never know the truth of it. See, so first remember what happens. Okay, conditioned mind, everybody lives from a conditioned mind. What does it mean? It means that a person does not exist, it's just a computer. A person is a computer. Software has been given to the computer and it acts according to that program. Okay? So that's what a conditioned person is. And 95% or more of the people are conditioned by their thoughts. They think they make choices. They think they make up their minds, but really what they're doing is choosing what they think they're conditioned to behave and to act from. Okay. So, so now, okay, what was the thing I was trying to point out? The witnessing part.
You had gone from witnessing to then consciousness, but you were going somewhere else with the whole thing.
Yes, I was. Okay, there was something I wanted to cover and I lost it. But anyway, let's go back to the witnessing. Okay, the witnessing is not to stop at the surface level, but to see that there are deeper and deeper levels of seeing. But that doesn't mean you're going to see them visually. It means that you're going to understand the depth of something. That it is an understanding in the heart, right? In other words, you don't have X-ray vision and say, well, this is all I see is just a pillow. You see, you know, if you look at a pillow, for example, and the fabric, you know, and everything else, and how it was made, how it was created, where it came from, and you see all that, how it came just from pure nothing, and now we have a pillow. You see, so so everything follows these gradations, these levels. Okay. Now, when we can look at a belief and witnessing as it actually is, it takes us back to a source, and at that moment we have an awakening. So when we talk about how does a person awaken, okay, it's very rare where people awaken through grace by just like that, although it has happened. But mostly it happens through something that has happened so intimate, such an intimate experience, that it took them beyond themselves. Okay,